In the stellar queendom of Rhea, the Sisters of the Host do all they can to protect the hearts and lives of its people. Rhea, spanning most of the known galaxy, is beset by forces within and without who would drag all into oblivion and despair. Aliens of uncertain intent traverse the queendom's borders, all while internal hatred and distrust would tear the people apart, as older, fouler things in the darkness wait to see their plans birth a terrible future. The hosts are the creations of the Dreaming Queen, mystically and genetically endowed super soldiers that give heart and body to protect the Queen and her people. Come and join us for their stories. Hello, subjects, and welcome to the first episode of Rose&Crescent. Campaign name not determined yet. I'm kind of thinking of the Kypernian Reach, but Blood and Sparkles has also been put forward. Let's see, and then maybe once the squad determines a nice squad name, maybe that'll be that. But until then, we'll just call it Rose&Crescent for now. So welcome. Let's introduce the players. Let's start with Ira. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ira. This is the first time I've done one of these recorded games. I hope you're all entertained with Alyssa.
All right, cool. Okay, so who wants to introduce themselves next?
Hi, this is JP. You can sometimes find me online as Evil Tendencies. I am not actually here. I am a brain in a jar, broadcasting from the planet Hala in the Aldebaran system. But I am pleased to have projected my psyche into this meat puppet for the evening.
Well, we appreciate you projecting into the meat puppet. Alrighty, and last but not least is...
Hello, everybody. I'm called Rin. I'm your resident psychopath. I think everything is wonderful, and you should definitely not like this character because it'll boost your ego, and you really don't want that because then she's going to kill you. Okay. Have a lovely day.
Okay. And I am Isaac, and I will be the Game Master or Royal Herald, if you prefer. Either way works, although one of those doesn't inflate my ego quite as much. And so, welcome to Rose&Crescent, as I said. In this case, for this game, we will be using the Fabula Ultima game system. And now, let us begin. Flashback to the past. A tall, gracefully aged host sister, one of the transhuman soldiers of the Dreaming Queen, stands on a battlefield littered with the broken form of her sisters and the evaporating remains of yokai, otherworldly monsters. Broken weapons, broken instruments of defense and war litter the field. She raises her glaive, the glaive of her Annex mother, the founder of her host, and strikes into the form of the yokai's leader, a larger, more sinister-looking creature of shadow and red eyes. White light bursts from the wound and emanates outward. She cannot slay the creature, unfortunately, but still she focuses her will and coalesces the light around the creature, and forcing it into one of the nearby machines, sealing it away. Fade to black, and we are now at some undisclosed point in the future. We are on the planet of Latavis, at the garrison of the Stalwart Grove host of Sisters. Petra, you are there, doing what you always do, training some initiates. How goes the training?
Did I tell you to speed load? You do not speed load. You load in the way that I insist you load. I tell you to load. You load one thing at a time.
Yes, ma'am, you hear them respond in unison. The initiates, they're doing well. They have their habits that they're working out, but that's what training is for. The initiates, they haven't reached the full size of a host soldier of the Stalwart Grove. They're getting there. Most of them are certainly about as tall as on average, of the other hosts. While you train this group of initiates, you see some of your full-fledged host sisters doing their own training and practice, and some of them even seem to be... one of them seems to be teaching a woodworking class to some of the locals on this planet. As I seem to recall, Petra does not get involved with regular humans overly much.
She doesn't train regular humans. She doesn't fight with regular humans. She doesn't have a problem with regular humans, they're just not a part of her life.
Ah, okie dokie. You do see one of the regular people giving you a few furtive looks and then focusing back on their woodwork. I assume you pay them no mind?
Mental note.
Seems to be a young man. You're not sure if he's eyeing your facial scar or your cybernetic leg. But, as you say, notes for later. Alright, and then, not too far from where this is happening, a frigate, or a small frigate, is unloading a batch of supplies. Ammunition, armor parts, certain, machine pieces. And overseeing this unloading of goods is Alyssa. How goes the unloading?
Efficiently as it should.
Just trying to get it done quickly so you can get to that diplomatic mission that you're supposed to be on. This was a side task to that mission.
Trying to get it done efficiently because a job done correctly is a job done well.
Fair enough. And Chiyako. Now, as I recall in our pre-game discussions, you got separated from your squad when you were doing your host, as is its specialty, was called in to do a cleansing of sorts. Basically, what had been happening on this planet could not be salvaged, and you were called in to put it down. It was a disease outbreak of some kind. You're not entirely sure which one. That was a bit higher than you. You just know that it had devastated the population and contaminated the planet. And you also think it might have, or rather, as you recall, it also mutated some of the local fauna. And wanting to make sure nothing of it got spread out, your host was called in to just eradicate it and clean slate it. However, in the midst of all that, there was some kind of ship malfunction, you're not entirely sure, and you got separated from your host, and your pod drifted through the Dreaming, the subspace realm, and wound up here. And as I also seem to recall, you said you wanted the folks here to not know of your presence. This is correct?
That is correct.
And how did Chiyako get on world?
Well, you said the pod dropped it.
The pod dropped out of the Dreaming, and you took it in for a bit of a crash landing?
That would probably be for the best.
So you haven't been on the planet overly long, and you did manage to find the major settlement on this world. And how have you been going about investigating this place?
Keeping around the outskirts, observing, determining whether I recognize anything from the area or not.
Well, it seems to be a human colony, which means they are Queendom subjects, and you have noticed that there is a stalwart grove garrison here. So there is a host sister presence.
Alright. Is that all I see so far? Or is there anything else I notice?
This was a little bit ago during your initial perimeter sweeps, but you noticed that a small frigate with the moniker of the Daughters of, or not the moniker, but with the symbol of the Daughters of Harmony host on the side landed at the garrison. So possibly a way off world if you wanted. Not your host, but hey, it's a host ship. But a host ship could hopefully get you back to your host sisters.
Beggars can't be choosers, especially with bureaucrats.
Very true. So you're going to try to sneak your way in, or are you just going to boldly stride forward?
Since there is a host presence, I'm not going to sneak, but I'm not going to stride as if I own the place. I will do something in between.
Roll me a dexterity and let's go with insight to see how well you can just kind of lay low, or see how you can nonchalantly go in. First roll of the campaign. Yay!
First roll.
All right, you play it nonchalant fairly well. You manage to avoid the gaze of most of the colonists. However, those who do see you see your colors and see your symbols and realize what host you're part of, and so they give you a wide berth and quickly try to get out of your way. The reputation of the silent luminaries precedes you.
She grins despite the shadow over her nose.
Alrighty, so you're making your way through the colony, cutting back over to Petra and the initiates. They've gotten to single loading as opposed to rapid loading, and they are firing. They seem to be doing well. But then you notice that one of them, an initiate by the name of Stasia, seems to be halting up for a moment. It's not affecting her time too dramatically, but she was probably one of the faster of this particular group. If you want to give me an insight plus insight check, maybe you'll be able to figure out what's going on.
Halting up? What do you mean?
She's a bit slower, and her motions are not as smooth. She's having fits of slowing down. She compensates and gets back to being fast, but it's happening more than once.
You need a nap, initiate?
No, ma'am. Just trying
slowing down.
I noticed that, ma'am. I am attempting to compensate. Roll me insight and insight. And a 7. Alright, you spot this easy. You've seen it dozens, if not hundreds of times before. You think she's having some kind of heart palpitation. This is a not unheard of side effect as her secondary heart grows in. However, it's probably often best to have them looked at so as to avoid any possible complications.
So her voice gets a little bit softer and she speaks lower so that she doesn't, cause embarrassment in front of the other initiates. She says, go see the medics, make sure that you're okay. You're of no good to the queen if your hearts are failing. You understand?
Ma'am, I can ride this out, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a request that I had made, princess?
Acknowledged, ma'am. After that, she puts the safety on. She clicks the safety on. Puts the gun. She puts her braille rifle away and Hops gets it to the medics. Some of the other initiates are looking, and you catch their eyes.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Did I call for a rest period?
At which point, in unison, they all go, "No, ma'am," and they quickly get back to their drills. Alyssa, you're at the gangplank, going over a data pad. You see some crates being unloaded by some of the ship's normal crew, as well as one or two other hosts, daughters of Pragma sisters. And it's at that point, Petra's particular drilling period seems to be getting out, and one of the Stalwart Grove initiates comes up to you. Sister?
Talk to me.
If you're not too busy, I would like an opportunity to spar against you.
Alicia does not turn to address or talk as she's still deep into her datapad. Sister, would you consider that a valuable use of your time?
Yes. The opportunity to train with a different host should be an insightful experience.
Alicia is going to sigh. She's going to check. How on schedule are things?
Considering it's you, why don't we have you roll a check for that, shall we?
Sure.
Let's go with insight and willpower. Insight to know what's being done, and willpower to make sure the people you're overseeing are suitably motivated. Another open check. And another 7. All right, things are progressing on schedule. which means for you, they're probably a little bit behind because as I understand it, your character is just kind of like that. On schedule, but not as on schedule as you would prefer.
Which means probably ahead of schedule slightly. Sister, while your interest in exploring new opportunities for martial demonstration is respectable, I am trying to get a resupply action performed within a very short time window. Perhaps you can find someone else with similar amount of free time.
Permission to come aboard then.
She's going to look at this individual with a little suspicion. Permission granted.
Thank you. And with the eagerness you expect of a young initiate, she runs onto the ship and begins looking around and asking around. It's at that point that Chiyako arrives at the gates to the garrison. They're open, as is typical for Stalwart Grove, although there are two sisters standing guard at the gates. Since you're trying to be nonchalant about things, not taking this opportunity to sneak, they see you. Do you approach them, or are you going to wait for them to address you?
Chiyako will approach them and stop maybe a few feet away and salute.
They salute back. One of them goes, "We weren't expecting a member of the Silent Luminaries here. What's your business?"
I was not expecting to be here. My business is to get well. I was separated from my crew, and my pod had to crash here.
So that's what that was.
It was a beautiful fireworks display.
Was it as beautiful from the inside as the out? Says one of them.
Almost more so.
They chuckle along with you until you kind of get to that last little bit, and they just kind of look at each other slightly confused. In which case they're like, "Alrighty, head on in. Talk to Commander Kinnett. She should be in her office at the moment."
Thank you very much. I'll be in a minute.
Alright, as you enter the yard, you see what I described previously. Some of the sisters working with some of the locals. Petra's group has let out for the moment, so she's probably checking rifles again, or what would Petra be doing after she let the initiates go?
Probably meeting with her training cadre to go over the rest of the day's instruction, making sure that all the details are done. None of this actually needs to be done, but Petra is not the kind of person that's going to just let people go all willy-nilly with only 3 or 4 goes over it.
The sisters that you are checking in with, this isn't your permanent garrison, but you've been here long enough that they know your meticulous habits on this point. They are trying to be as quick and efficient as possible. It's like, yes, 1300 we have a physical training. At 1500 there's there's melee drills, and it goes on like that. It's at that point though you hear a ping on your communicator from Commander Kinnett. Could you gather up the other NCOs and bring them to the briefing room?
If I need to.
You do. See you there in 5. Alyssa, you also receive a ping on your communicator. Alyssa, could you and a few of your sisters please join us in the briefing room?
Of course.
And Chiyako, it's at that point, when you enter the building looking for Commander Kinnett's office, you see a woman with commander markings on her armor heading towards the briefing room. I assume you follow?
Indeed I do.
Alright, she heads into the room, and you follow after. She stops, looks at you, and goes, "And who are you?"
I'm Chiyako, the Silent Luminaries man. I was sent to speak with you in regards to the hopeful possibility of getting off-world. Crash here.
I see. Well, this was not what I was expecting right now. We'll talk more once we're done with the briefing.
Very well, ma'am.
If you want to take a spot in the back.
And she heads to one of the corners. Keep herself very much out of the way.
Just melting into the shadows.
Yes.
So you all file in shortly thereafter. Alyssa, it is rare that you feel short. The host sisters being, head and shoulders taller than normal humans. Stalwart Grove are also, typically a head taller than them. So you and what appears to be a silent luminary looming in the shadows in the corner seem to be the smallest ones in the room.
Captain?
All right, everyone's here. So at that, she presses the gem on the center of her armor, and a holographic display appears in front of you all. It seems to be a planet, fairly nondescript looking for the most part. Its coordinates in the display seem to indicate that it's only like 2 systems away from here. Looking at it and then looking at you all, she says, "This is the colony of Brackwin. A relatively new colony, only 40 years. And it seems to be under attack by the Kaimon. We're not entirely sure where they came from, but they sent out a call for aid. They've been under attack for a couple days now, and they've been unable to fend them off themselves. I was thinking of sending a unit out there. Petra, how are the initiates?"
Not ready.
So only full sisters on this, you would say?
Not unless you want to, lose an entire training platoon.
"And do you concur?" she says, indicating your other training cadre members. They look at each other, look at you, Petra. They nod in agreement. "Yes, ma'am. We're going to send out a unit to deal with them. We don't know what the Kaimon's intention is, so get there, fend them off. If you can find out what's going on to make this easier, do so. Alyssa,
Yes, ma'am.
we would like you and some of your sisters to join this operation."
Is it a formal request?
"It is."
We shall assist.
"Thank you kindly. That leaves our guest. I need to make some communications to see about getting you a ship to rejoin your host. That may or may not take some time. The silent luminaries don't have a full garrison in the Kypernian Reach, so it may take a little bit to find them. In the meantime, would you be up for fighting with us?" she says.
That is a very interesting proposition. I think I'd love that. Just be sure to send word to my host of where I'm at, please.
"It will be done," she says.
Commander,
"Yes."
you asked if we wanted to take initiates on this, and we said no. So you're going to bring an accountant with us?
They're more than just accountants. Like any member of the hosts, they know how to fight.
As you say, ma'am.
So I'd consider this an opportunity to learn from each other. The more quick nature of the Daughters of Harmony versus the more...
Stubbornness.
What was that?
Stubbornness.
Good point. The more entrenched way of fighting of the Stalwart Grove.
Petra mutters something under her breath that you guys don't catch.
Can I roll to catch it?
I'm willing to let her try, unless you just wanted to leave it at that, JP.
No, that's fine. She can try.
All right. Give an insight and insight. All right. So she got a 15. That's a very good roll. What did you mutter?
You hear Petra say, "I was going to say effective, but whatever."
Jeffrey just grins. So widely. Uncomfortably widely.
Petra rolls her eyes.
And what's Alyssa doing during this little interaction?
She's writing updates into her data pad to update that she will not be personally supervising the boarding action, the resupply anymore. So it better be done when she gets back.
You receive an affirmative message in response. Gear up. Your ship leaves in an hour. So an hour later, you're geared up, ready to go. Your armor is on, helmet's working, guns at the ready. Or rather, your special weapons. See, Petra, what's your special weapon?
Petra has a very obviously custom rail rifle. It's got a slightly longer barrel. It's got heat dissipating fins along the side that are clearly not spec. You suspect it's to allow it to shoot a little bit faster when necessary. It looks a lot heavier. Part of that is because of the magazine well. And in filigree along the side, you see that it says Clarabella.
Alrighty, and Alyssa, what's your signature weapon like?
Alyssa has a large two-handed warhammer called Ilmarine, and it is basically covered in a number of enchantments that allows it to basically summon a hard light projection of an even larger warhammer that she can then hit people with.
I approve. And Chiyako, what is Chiyako's weapon?
Well, Chiyako doesn't have a special weapon. Nothing ever felt right so far. But the two daggers she keeps are sentimental, as the one she has was given to her by a friend when they were initiates.
Ah, okay. And the other
and
one?
the other was her friends when they were initiates.
Ah. All right then. You board onto the ship. The ship is a frigate called Alona's Heart. Alona being one of the two names of the mother of the Stalwart Grove host, also called their annex, for a proper old Rayan noun. You board the ship, and with Captain Laubin's word, you take off. Whoosh. The exiting the planet's atmosphere is easy enough, and then once you get to space, the pilot, Arito, is like preparing to jump to dream space. 3, 2, 1, whoosh, and you go into the Dreaming, the magically created subdimension used for faster-than-light travel in the Queendom. It is a realm of blues and greens speckled with silver. It's an uneventful trip, no particular storms or unusual waves amongst the Dreaming. However, if one of you was being the pilot, I would have you do a roll to see if you notice some things upon exiting. So instead, I'll have one of you, if one of you would like to do the rolls yourself, acting as the pilot Arito. Who would like to do the piloting? It's going to be an insight and dexterity check.
I'll do it.
All right. In this case, have a D10 and a D8. You got a 13. So you go through the Dreaming. It's a smooth trip, a little bit of a dream turbulence at one point, but you exit back into normal space uneventfully. However, as you're doing, Arito says, everything normal, all systems clear, picking up an unknown chip on sensors. Permission to engage?
ID the ship before you fire on it.
Checking now. Just a Kymon ship, size and silhouette seems to indicate it is a scouting vessel of some kind.
Has anybody alerted Petra to this at this point?
They're in the communications loop. They're not technically part of the chain of command on the ship, but considering their position and their nature, their statements have heavy weight on the captain's decisions.
Okay. Petra says, if we can just disable them, board them, we might be able to get a little bit of useful intelligence before we head into this whole mess.
Not a bad idea. Permission to engage, Arito. At which point, Rita says, yes, sir. And she steers the ship towards the scout vessel. The scout vessel, though, now makes maneuvers and is attempting to leave. I'll make this another check on her part to see if she can keep up, or else the ship gets away. Who would like to roll for her this time?
I can do it again if you want.
All right, if you want to do it again. In this case, it'll just be a dex and dex roll. And you got a 7. Okie dokie. All right, she steers the ship. She manages to do some hard turns here and there. The Kymon vessel is smaller and much more maneuverable, and unfortunately, it eventually does manage to escape you. At which point, Arito says, calculating possible trajectories. I'll have those for you as soon as I can, ma'ams.
Well, it looks like they know we're here.
How they report.
At which point the captain is just like, I generally don't like my opponents knowing I'm there. But we take the situation we have, he says. From there, captain says, all right, take us to the colony. Viewed through your scanners from above, the colony, it's moderate for its size, considering its age, only 40 years. No outlying settlements, or at least none that you can see. It seems to be just like this main settlement. And there does seem to be signs of recent fighting. Blast marks along the walls, a breach here or there, and then the inside of the colony does have some ruined buildings. And so, from there, they fly you down, and you land at the ship port of Brackwind Colony. And awaiting you seems to be a fairly tall but tired-looking brunette woman, along with some other people behind her. At which point, the sisters gather information on the ship.
Well, Petra will step forward.
Yeah, I'm going to assume from this point, Petra is the one leading the Starward Grove sisters.
Yeah, Petra steps forward and says, "My name is Petra. I'm in command of this mission. Give us a status update, please."
Sister, it is an honor to have you and yours here. Thank you for answering our request. I am Alyssa, the chief administrator of this colony. Please. And she leads you into the colony. I assume you follow?
Yeah.
I follow behind.
Chiyako's gonna trail behind everyone else and just keep her eyes looking around, observing everything she can. She also sees herself as still a guest in this situation, a tag along to the mission. So for the time being, she's going to be sitting back and not taking charge unless she sees herself as having a particular expertise in an area. To her, she feels mostly as just like a guest even on this mission.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
At that, Alyssa leads you into the colony, and yeah, it looks just as bad up here. A lot of the infrastructure's been damaged. You know, there are people clearing detritus and rubble away. And she says, "We don't know what prompted the attack, to be honest. We didn't even know they were here. But we just know that we were going about our business like 2 days ago, although it feels longer at this point, when the aliens just started attacking. We managed to fend them off enough times, but we're not soldiers, and frankly, we weren't really expecting to be attacked. So I formally cede control and command of the defenses to your expertise." She says, and then bows, probably a bit lower than you would prefer, but that's your position in the queendom, I suppose.
Petra looks over at the Stalwart Grove sisters under her command, nods at them with the understanding that they're to kind of go about and prepare to do what they're prepared to do. They all know their jobs, and so she dismisses them. And then she looks at Alyssa and Chiyako and just kind of does that like South Park blink a little bit as she realizes that they're still standing there and they're still in the mission, and she's not entirely sure what to do with them.
The Stalwart Grove sisters salute, and they scatter amongst the colony, leaving you three and Alyssa. And as you stand there, a number of the colonists are watching you. Yeah, some out of curiosity, some out of what are they going to do to help us, and a few out of just, wow. It's not every day a regular person gets to see one of the host sisters.
Are there any injured that need tending?
There are some injured people off to the side. You see some medics trying to tend to them. Are you going to go and assist?
Yes, I will assist.
And we'll get to you in just a moment. And then what do you do, Alyssa?
After a while of, I assume Petra just staring at her for an awkward amount of time.
Yes.
Alyssa is going to mutter a curse to herself and turn over to the system administrator. What is the status of the colonists?
We have X number of colonists dead. We have X number of colonists injured. Those who are fighting, or those who are capable of fighting, are currently resting and checking over supplies.
And what is their status? Do they have power? Do they have access to food and clean water?
We still have water. Our power is out currently, though, except for emergency generators for some of our more essential systems.
Is there a shelter they can be evacuated to if there's another attack?
We have some underground infrastructure that we are using to house some of our people. We can filter more in there, and we can fall back to it if needed. But unfortunately, we don't have a place beyond the colony. We don't have any ships of our own. We have supply ships coming in every 3 months. Unfortunately, that was a month ago. So we're kind of stranded here at the moment.
Is then going to stare at Petra and gesture vaguely at her.
We're taking care of the defense. I figured logistics and accounting was what you were going to take care of. And she doesn't say this in like a malicious or a challenging way. She says this in a very genuine, like, this is what you do, right? Kind of way.
This is going to release a very exasperated sigh. Mister, I need you to take me to where your center of operations is so we can figure out what needs to be done.
Over the thumbs. Actually, rescue efforts and rebuilding tend to be a feature of my host. I'll help once I finish with the medical issues here.
Anything you could do would be greatly appreciated, says Anesia. Please, follow me this way.
I'll see to the walls, says Petra, and then she just walks off.
All right. And it's like team and split. Or break. Starting with Chiyako, there is the medical center. It still seems to be standing, luckily. The people that you saw earlier were tended to best there and then brought to the medical center. It's very full. Another set of hands, especially one who knows what they're doing, should help things. There is a bit of a triage going. What do you want to do here?
She's going to start with the most in need, and then work her way back from that.
There is one young woman who has a bit of rebar jutting through her abdomen. The doctors have been doing what they can to try to get it out without losing her. They're not surgeons, unfortunately. At which point, the woman looks up at you, and she seems to be bleary-eyed, maybe somewhat delirious. She goes, "Have you come to escort me through the dreaming to the queen?"
Not yet. Let's see if you have more work to do.
And then, as you say that, she passes out. You're going to try to do some impromptu surgery on the young woman?
Yeah, well,
At which point, the doctor sees this, kind of just like snaps to and gets things ready for you. Quicker than you would expect, given the circumstances. They set up a bit of an impromptu medical theater around you and the young woman, and the surgery begins. Roll me dexterity and insight with a +2 bonus. A 19. Very impressive. You're like, okay, I've seen this kind of wound before. I know exactly what to do here. And with a superhuman speed, as befits one of the host sisters, you manage to get the rebar out to patch her up, and it's as easy as a minor flesh wound, at least to you. You know, you're intimately familiar with human anatomy. You just piece it back together like it was nothing.
who needs a medical degree?
And then you sew her back up, and the doctors are impressed. You know, at one point, they look at you and goes, "I could barely see your hands moving."
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
All right, we'll take her from here. And then they move her to an area for her to recover. So at that point, you hear the sounds of a child crying. And we'll cut over to Petra. You're examining the walls?
Yeah, I'm walking the physical defenses of the colony, making note of places where it's been breached or could easily be breached. Looking for places to set up fields of fire, places that are badly designed that if we're going to rebuild this place, we might as well fix those too. That kind of thing.
All right. Well, you're looking through. One or two of the breaches are big enough for people to get through. You assume this is where they're going to hit pretty hard. Some of them are small, but could be made larger if they give the right sort of effort. And as you're surveying it, the smaller ones could be repaired relatively quickly, or at the very least they could be stopped up. The bigger ones, you might need to use a little bit of magic or earth manipulation. Did you take the ritualism ability for Elementalist?
I did not. She is just a straight up war rock.
Right. You took Fury, Weapon Master, and Sharpshooter. Well, you set some of the sisters to block and reinforce the breaches. Others are going over any automated defenses the colony might have. Your squad's tech expert, you see her fixing some mounted guns when you spot a middle-aged looking woman off to the side, seeming to be taking notes, and then sees you see her and runs off.
Petra doesn't, get tense. She doesn't be like, oh! Just very calmly takes out her pistol and puts it around next to the woman's foot.
Ah! She screams.
I'd stay where you are.
Well, what do you want?
You ran. I think the question here is, what do you want?
I came to check the automated systems but I saw that they were in your capable hands, ma'am.
And so you ran away. No. Why are you here?
Roll me willpower and willpower to just kind of, or either willpower and willpower or might and willpower to just kind of force it out of her. Your choice.
Any modifiers for maybe having almost shot her?
I'll give you a +1 on that. And a 12. Very impressive. I was going back to my abode to make sure my equipment was ready.
She puts another round in the ground, a little bit closer to her foot, missing it by inches. Keep talking.
I'm not lying. I just had to make sure my project was secure and was secure. Things are going to be getting heavy here again pretty soon, and I don't want my work to be damaged.
Start making sense now. What project?
Do you promise you won't destroy it?
No.
It's better to show you, I guess. Come with me.
Petra waves over a couple of her sisters, and we follow.
The woman mutters to herself as you go, and you walk down some streets. You eventually kind of overtake her just due to your physical strides, but she, running, keeps up, manages to keep ahead of you. She takes you into what appears to be a damaged but still functional house of some kind. And she brings you around back. She presses a button, and the back door slides into the ground, and you see what appears to be a workshop. Also, you see the ugliest looking piece of machinery you have ever seen in your life. How long has Petra been around?
I think we said 80 years.
Yeah. Like, in your 80 years as a host sister, this has to be the ugliest piece of machinery you've ever seen. Looking at it, it looks like it might be some kind of engine, but the pieces don't look right. Some of them look to be of human make, but then others of them seem to be of alien origin, all kind of cobbled together. And then you see sensor wires attached to it, looking like they're trying to get a reading off of it. You recognize this thing, unfortunately. This seems to be some kind of ship engine put together by the OCAD. The OCAD are a short, bone-plated alien species known for being primitive masters of technology. You are intimately familiar with them because you fought them on more than one occasion. Reminds you of how you got your cybernetic leg.
This is alien technology. OCAD. Why do you have it?
The OCAD, for all of their barbarism, for I guess you could say, know how to make technology work, and I was trying to figure out how they make technology work. I mean, this shouldn't be working, but it works. And I'm hoping to reverse engineer it, figure out what underlying principles it operates under, and see how that can be applied to our own tech.
Why?
Well, it's an interesting question, isn't it? And also, if I can figure this out, that might prove my credentials, and I might be able to join the Tech Concord. The Tech Concord, as you may or may not remember, is a guild-like affiliation of technomancers.
You have done a lot of talking. You showed us an engine. My sisters and I have been taken off the line to come look at your engine. It's very impressive. I'm still getting peevish now at you not explaining why exactly what we are doing is going to affect what you are doing here.
You're the one that wanted to come look at what I was doing.
Why were you spying on us?
I wasn't spying. I came to check the systems. You were already there, and I admit your presence spooked me a bit. This is alien tech after all. I wasn't sure what you would do with it.
Alyssa, I say into my comlink.
Yes?
There's something here I think you need to see. And says it's in the north quarter near the wall. Follow these streets till you see this landmark.
It's not too long a jaunt for you to get over there. And yeah, you see this ugly piece of equipment.
What is this?
This is an OCAD engine.
I'm attempting to break it down, find out how it works, and see if I can reverse engineer the principles of it.
Why?
Why not?
Is this thing going to explode?
It hasn't yet. Although at that point, one of the Stalwart Grove sisters leans into you, Petra. Actually, no. She'll lean into Alyssa. Although, looking at it, it could be jury-rigged into a bomb if necessary.
I do not want a bomb detonating in the middle of a colony that is still recovering from an attack.
Just letting you know what you have available to you, ma'am.
Do you have a license to do this?
There are technically no laws against it.
Is that true?
Regulations on colonies are a little inconsistent.
Socially speaking, getting involved with aliens is not generally looked well upon. At least broad strokes. Individual colonies might have their own particular mores on that matter. The people in the Concord probably wouldn't mind. But then again, the Concord is their own kettle of fish.
It is. I'm not sure you're legally allowed to mess around with a energy system without proving that you can do so without causing it to take out half the colony, but, I certainly don't have a license to work with a nuclear reactor in my basement.
Fair enough. At which point she says, she looks at you, looks like she's trying to come up with some kind of equivocation, but she ultimately just kind of goes, I do not have a license to work on unshielded energy sources. No.
Unshielded? Oh boy. Okay.
Petra just rolls her eyes and groans a little bit.
I am still trying to assess the full scale of the damage done here. I don't have time to deal with this.
What I'm hoping that you could give us is just the legal thing. I know what I want to do, but this isn't our house. And as much as I am loath to admit it, this is something that you and your sisters are experts on.
Technically, the system administrator has given you full authority over the region, so technically it is under our authority, so technically whatever we says goes.
Petra turns to the woman, says, prepare to rig this into a bomb outside of the city. I'll give you coordinates. If we don't need it detonated, then you can keep working on it outside of the city. Do you understand?
Despair and relief at the same time kind of fight for dominance on her face, at which point she's just like, I understand, ma'am. I'll get it moved. Where outside the city?
Congratulations, engineer. You've been drafted into the military-industrial complex.
Oh dear.
Just think of it this way. If your project has to be detonated, you'd probably die anyways if you didn't. So there's a plus side to this.
And at that point, she just kind of goes over, starts disattaching things and getting it ready to be transported. Congratulations, you have defeated the errant techsmith. Da 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 da.
Thank you, sister. They find the more administrative side of this job to be unpleasantly taxing.
Well, have faith, sister. The Daughters of Harmony are here to help you read legalese and count past 10. Now I have to go back to checking out these forms.
That's
Nice.
beautiful.
Very nice. Take a fabula point for that.
Thank you.
Back to Alyssa, and Alyssa-specific focus. You get back to the administrator's office and you're going over things. What are you looking for?
First thing is breakdown, general assessment of the entire situation. So a breakdown of casualties, a breakdown of systems that are broken down, what are the current community needs, etc., etc. Also, as part of the assessment of the damage, an attempt to deduce what the motivation of the attackers were. What were they focusing their attacks on? What were they trying to aim for? What tried to be like, why did they do this? See if that is deducible from their attack plans.
Okay.
It's strategy.
I'm going to need 2 rolls from you.
Oh.
2 insight plus insight rolls. One to gain an assessment of the situation, another to try to figure out what exactly is going on, based off the available evidence.
Are they both open?
Yes.
First one away.
A 12. Okie dokie, good roll.
Second one away.
And a 9. Okie dokie, another good roll. Alright, as for the first roll, taking it all in, rapidly sifting through the information, you do notice some interesting discrepancies. The defenses should have held up more, is kind of an impression you're getting. And the automated defenses at the very least. Because no colony with any kind of funding doesn't have some kind of automated defense system, even if they don't necessarily have a standing militia. You do notice that the funds allocated to various things, including the defense system, is more than what's present. So there's that. And then, while there's still water, there's only emergency powers to some systems that have their own generators. Large-scale colony power is down.
Mm-mm. Suspicious.
And as for what the attackers were trying to get in the attack, that's harder to make out, unfortunately. You do notice that their attack came suddenly out of nowhere. The colonists are not entirely sure from where they came up. They just kind of showed up, started attacking. They managed to be defended off, and then they withdrew. And let's say you're going over some footage before the systems went down. Looking at the footage, you notice that the Kaimon seem to be attacking in anger. And as for what the Kaimon look like, as you're aware, they're referred to as the children of the trees, or people of the trees. They're about as tall as humans, although physically they're more dense, with skin ranging from shades of green to shades of brown, and hair that kind of has every color you might imagine on the spectrum: purple, pink, red, yellow, along with no protruding ears. Their armor and weaponry has a very organic look to it, even if it's not specifically organic weaponry. But they're attacking, if you're reading them correctly, they seem to be attacking with some kind of definite sense of anger.
How do you spell Kaimon?
Kaemon.
Boop.
Mon.
Gotcha.
Something else that you do notice when you're going over assets and so forth for the colony. 3 weeks to a month ago, there was a robbery. Things like supplies, uniforms, and equipment were taken. No one on the colony was arrested for this theft, so nobody knows what exactly happened there.
What location was robbed?
Some storehouses under the administration's purview.
Is the chief administrator around?
She is on hand if you need her, yes.
Administrator, question. What
Yes.
was the colony's relationship with the Kaimon before the attack?
We didn't even know the Kaimon were here. As far as we knew, we were the only sapients on the planet.
So as far as you're aware, the Kaimon launched a surprise attack out of nowhere for no discernible reason.
Yes, ma'am.
One other question. There was a number of... I've been going through paperwork and I noticed that there were a number of storehouses that appeared to have been robbed.
Yes, about 3 weeks ago,
Yes.
there was we were just robbed. Food supplies, uniforms, various equipment needed for colonial use, as well as infrastructure expansion, was taken out of the storehouses. We don't know who, and we don't know why.
By what means did they steal it? Did they just pick it up and leave?
The systems in storehouses were hacked, and we didn't find out until morning. So yes, we don't know what happened about that. We never managed to find any culprits. Somebody came in, hacked it, and left. We didn't have any visitors at the time, so we don't really know what was going on.
Mister, I can't help but notice there's a lot of things happening around your colony that you do not know about.
Could you be more specific?
Things are being stolen from you. There's an entire group of people on the planet you do not know about.
This does not look well for me, I admit, but my incompetence can be fully assessed and dealt with once the threat has passed. Ma'am, she says, and then bows her head deferentially.
Ultimately, I am not here to assess your quality as an administrator. That assessment will likely occur because of someone else. I only care to observe that there appears to be more than there may be a conspiracy about. I can't help but also notice that your automated defense systems appear to be operating suboptimally.
Ma'am, let me see.
She will show the things that, the clues that she found that revealed that there wasn't as much pushback as there should have been.
Yeah, you're looking over the numbers now, and you realize there's been skimming off the top done here.
Administrator.
Yes, she says.
Now that I'm reviewing some of this evidence I intend to share with you, I can't help but notice it appears resources that are meant to end up where they are not arriving as they should.
If you'll excuse me a moment, she says, and she goes to...
No, I won't.
No, she doesn't move to leave. She goes to her communicator. Josette, could you please come in here?
Josette is?
Our treasurer.
Ah.
A few minutes later, a woman, maybe about early 30s, black hair, green eyes, comes in. Yes, administrator. What can I help you with?
I was going over the documents and I noticed some odd irregularities. Could you please look at this here? She'll point at one of the documents she's been examining.
She looks it over. She says, oh dear. Huh.
Yes.
Seems like someone was skimming.
Yes, and as treasurer, it is your job to notice that, is it not?
Oh, I must admit, I have been letting my assistant do a bit more of the work. Forgive me for slacking off in that regard. I will investigate this, she says.
You will do no such thing. We will investigate this, and you will assist in that investigation. If we find out you are holding back information you are not sharing, we will be having another conversation with a notably less pleasant tone.
Is this just a general statement, or are you attempting to force something out of her with that statement?
I'm giving her an opportunity to volunteer more information if she was choosing to hold back.
Roll me willpower and willpower. An easy difficulty in this case.
Willpower and willpower. Any bonuses?
I'll give you a +1 for having the documents on hand. A 10. Alright, seeing the administrator, hearing your threat, she's just like, okay, yes, I had redirected some funds, and I did not inform Administrator Anesia of the allocation. Josette, says the administrator. What do you do here?
Where did you redirect these funds to?
I put them into a separate account.
Off system, I assume?
Yes. You've been skimming off our defense budget? Do you know how many people died because our systems weren't up to standard? Anesia lays into her.
Do you know if anyone else has been skimming from the budget, Treasurer?
Not that I'm aware of, she says, somewhat deflated.
That will have to do for now. Is there any, security Or,
Oh, don't worry. We have a place we can store her. Anesia mutters into her communicator, and a couple of folks come in and escort Josette away. Thank you for pointing this out to me, says Anesia. I was expecting defense. I was not expecting an administrative cleanout. If we survive this will make my life a lot easier.
Don't count your eggs before they've hatched. There are plenty of more conspiracies under your nose we may discover yet.
Queen willing, we'll deal with them all. And on that note, we jump back over to Chiyako. Chiyako, you hear what appears to be the sound of a little boy crying.
Chiyako will investigate.
You follow the sound, and sitting around the other side of the medical center, you just see this little boy sitting there, staring out, trying to contain some sniffles, and just kind of sitting there being sad.
What is your name?
He startles a little bit and looks up at you. Oh, my name is Sillin.
Oh, hello, son. I'm Chiyako.
He's straining his neck a little bit to look up at you. Oh,
He
hello.
will need something more at his level.
Okay, he strains a little less. Oh, hello.
Are you hurt?
No.
Well, what's wrong?
They're gone. Daddy and Mommy.
I see. I'm sorry.
As you say that, you hear a bit of a rumble from his stomach. You wouldn't happen to have anything to eat, would you?
Would is not carries snacks.
I could see her having some snacks.
Yeah,
Rations.
I can see having snacks. I can see Chiyako in particular having snacks.
Yeah, Chiyako seems like a snacky type. So you have some rations, maybe some sweets you keep on yourself.
I'm going to pull out a sealed bag of monster crackers. They're like animal crackers, but shaped like monsters.
I approve. He just lays into that. He's just like, oh, no. He looks up at you, dries some tears, wipes some crumbs away, and says, thank you. And as he's saying thank you, you hear an explosion from the south quarter of the colony. And then the starts sounding. You're under attack.
She turns away from the kid and gets the biggest grin. And starts off.
Okay, you leave the child behind. Petra, Alyssa, you also hear notification of an attack. Where do you go?
Petra slams her helmet on and begins running with the speed that a transhuman can run, and makes her way down to the area where the explosion was.
Okay. We'll say you get there just in time. While this is happening, the other breaches in the wall are also being pressed, or at the very least the ones where enemies could get in easily. The explosion you heard was one of the smaller ones being made larger. Alyssa, are you also heading to where the explosion was, or where are you going?
She is going to first assess what is in the direction of the explosion, see if there's anyone who needs to be evacuated.
Okay. There are some colonists over there who were sifting through the rubble. They could definitely use some cover while they get to the shelters.
All right. She's going to send a general order to evacuate that area and go there and make sure nothing interferes with said evacuation.
And Chiyako, I assume you're heading to where the explosion was. So
I'm on my way now.
you arrive at your destinations. Chiyako, you arrive to join Petra. And Alyssa, you're a little bit farther away from them, but they're within line of sight of you. Bit distant line of sight, but line of sight. And it's time for initiative as you see Kaimon entering through the breach.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Petra turns to Chiyako and says, if we can get them out of that breach, I'll stand there and plug it. Can you lead a counterattack?
Yes. I'd love to.
I thought you might. And then she looks over at Alyssa. Are you ready, sister?
What?
Over the comms.
I am a host.
Good.
You hear a cry from the other Star Wars groves, "For the Queen!" Alrighty. Roll for initiative. Meat snacks. Okay, actually, how to do this properly. Who's taking the lead roll for initiative?
Presumably whoever's got the best dex.
Initiative is dexterity and insight.
That's probably me then. Wow, I suck.
6. Alright, in that case, they're gonna go first.
Sometimes you roll trash. That's the game.
It makes up for all the really good rolls I've gotten so far. I've only gotten 2 sub-10s today, so...
There you go.
Alright, the Kaimon are coming in. 2 of them see Petra and Chiyako and open fire. See, the first one is going to attack Chiyako. Alright, you wouldn't happen to remember where the multi-quality is listed, would you?
Multi-quality is basically you can make an additional attack against another target.
Okie dokie. So the first one's going to fire at you, then fire at Chiyako. No, so sorry, it's going to fire at Chiyako, and then it's going to fire at Petra. So what are your defenses?
11.
Minus 12.
Alright, so they attack. Alright, you said your defense was 18? Or sorry, was 11?
Mine is 11, yes.
A 7. Okay, so miss on you, and then the attack on Petra, and a 5. Also a miss. Pew pew! And now it's your turn. Who's going?
I'll go.
Do it.
14. Alright, you definitely hit. And, okay. 14 points. And, let's see, you were attacking with your daggers?
Yes, Chiyako's just gonna you straight for him, eating grin on her face. She's just gonna. She is so excited.
You rush, do a slash on him, and it's just when thick, blackish, green, almost black, for want of a better term, blood comes out of them, although its stickiness is reminiscent of sap. And that is your turn. Their turn. See, the other one, also has the multi-quality, and they're going to one attack on Petra and one attack on Chiyako. They rolled properly, got a 10. Your defense is a 12, so that missed on you. And now for the multi-attack going against Chiyako. This just in, a rules clarification. Okay, so it's one attack and it applies against both, so not rolling 2. Got it, so we'll know that in the future. And so, miss, and it falls to you again. Who's going and doing what?
I should go first. I have an attack that can break armor.
Go ahead.
Alrighty.
To use my Weapon Master ability, I get a free attack with a melee weapon. We talked about her cyber leg being something she could kick with.
Right.
So she is going to kick this thing in the chest, crack its armor open, and then shoot it. And if anything is left, Chiyako can finish.
Alright, sounds like a plan. Have at.
Is this one Chiyako's already targeting? Yeah.
I'm thinking the other one. That way we have options.
14. That is a hit.
Okay, so this does no damage. This, let me read it off to you. You may use an action and spend 5 mind points to perform a free attack with a melee weapon you have equipped. This attack must target a single creature. If the attack is successful, it deals no damage, and you choose one option. You destroy one shield equipped by the target, or you destroy the target's equipped armor, or whenever the target suffers damage from a source before your next turn, that source deals skill level times 2 extra damage to them. My skill level is only 1, so I'm going to destroy their equipped armor.
The heavy weight of your cyber leg crunches through the chest protection, exposing its more vulnerable bits. And that was your free attack?
That's a free attack. Now I'm going to shoot it with Clarabella.
All right.
Okay, so I got a 17 on the attack and did 22 damage.
And pew, directly into its exposed chest. This was off the one that had already been damaged, or a different one?
This was the one that I had not, that Chiyako had not damaged. And now she has options.
So it's their turn again. Alyssa, as you're giving cover to some of the people, a Kaimon rises up, targets you, and shoots.
Okay.
4. And goes very wide. Apparently they've never fought against a host soldier before.
Yeah, that's not gonna hit.
Alrighty, now it falls to your turn, Alyssa.
Alright. Alyssa, seeing the incoming fire, sees the guy and charges him. Ignites her hammer and charges him.
Does your hammer let off a pleasant hum once activated, or is it more of a crackling sound?
More of a wind chime.
Okay, and so you charge and attack. Roll your attack.
Accuracy. That's the button I want to hit.
Yes it is. And a 12. Alright, you hit and do 22 points of damage. Very impressive.
Yep.
So with a mighty your hammer lays into them, knocking their arm out of their socket. Assuming they have bones, you're not entirely sure.
We will see in my next one.
And it falls back to them. You're up close to them, so they drop their gun, though it's not gone because it's on a strap, and they draw their own blade to engage you in the manner in which you have engaged them.
Who is it attacking?
It's attacking Chiyako. And they got a 6, and so they swing. You managed to deftly dodge, seeing the attack coming. And now it falls to you, Chiyako. Or rather, it falls to whoever wants to go next. This is not a fixed order. If somebody else wants to go now, you can. Basically, it's the PC's slot.
Could I go to prevent this guy from to get a hit on this guy before he retaliates from my blow?
Of course.
Wait.
All right, I'm going to 8. All right, I am going to attack. Go for a second swing.
18. Got max. Good for you.
Yep.
All right, so that's a 20. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, that's a 24.
So 24 points of damage. They're not down yet, but you've crunched one side. You twirled around and got them on the other side. So both arms are very sore right now. They are going to attempt to withdraw. I forget. I don't believe there are any special withdrawal rules. Or am I misremembering that, Ira?
I think there is a mechanic for running away.
But we're not gonna tell you where it is.
They fight till they die.
I think I have it. Okay. Well, that's just the individual. The group of Kaimon as a whole have not reached to a point where they want to withdraw, so they remain, and they are going to attack you, Alyssa. 16. And they get a hit. You hit one arm, you swirled around, hit the other, but despite that, they grit through the pain and manage to shoot off a blast at you at point blank range. And the high roll on that is a 10, so that is going to be 20 points of damage. And then after that, it is your guys' turn.
Mind if I go next to Sherry?
Go ahead.
Okay. I can perform the guard action once per turn, so I am going to do that, and I am going to cover Chiyako, so she cannot be targeted by melee attacks until the start of my next turn. So any attacks they want to make have to go off against me.
Okie dokie. And that's your action?
I believe that's a free action, so now I'm going to shoot them.
What's making it a free action?
It says
Yeah, guard
My
is an
bad.
action.
Yeah, I saw that even if you gain the ability to perform it during your turn. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's my major action, so that's all I'll do.
They're engaged in melee, but you managed to push yourself between Chiyako and the Kaimon. You plant yourself there, hey, and guard your comrade. Their turn, well, you're there, so they are going to try to get through you so they can go at her. And 10. They stab at you. Unfortunately, their blade just kind of deflects off your armor. And now it is Chiyako's turn.
I'm gonna like duck under Petra and like imagine I'm like peeking under like the arm off to the side, and I'm just gonna like stab right in the ribs.
All right, roll it. 14. That is a hit, and that is max damage. So, all right. So they're not in a good place at the moment. All right, so there's the one whose chest piece was opened up. They're going to try to lay into Petra.
Yep, that's the only real choice they have, unless they want to not attack.
12. And hit.
Hey!
So you take 20 points of damage, Petra.
Okay.
The sounds of the battle persist around you. The other host sisters are fighting, and so far they seem to be holding. New round, your turns. Who's going what or where?
Well, if Petra's ability is holding until Petra's next turn, it might make sense for Petra to go last. You don't want
Yeah. No, totally. I like it.
Alyssa, would you like to give another swing before I stab you?
My concern is Alyssa. How are you doing with that fight?
I seem to be doing fine.
All right, so either Chiyako or Alyssa, who's going? Sorry?
Your situation seems to be a little more rough than mine. You should probably go first.
Alright. Nice shot.
And a 14.
No,
All
that's
right.
still decent.
So with another hit, and with the damage you do, you manage to fell this Kaimon. You duck under Petra's other arm, attacking their other side, just so things are nice and symmetrical. And
You gotta have symmetry.
and just that dark green, almost black blood just oozes out. They fall to their knees, and they are no more.
Let's take out the next one.
All right. So it falls to them. Let's see. These are the basic guys, so they don't have any particular special abilities. Actually, the one that attacked Petra last round is going to back up a bit and is going to fire ranged at Petra. Let's see. The guard action only applies to melee?
The guard action only applies to melee.
It does.
All right, so they're going to take a shot and try to get both of you. They get a 9. And they fail to get both of you. All right, now it is Alyssa.
This guy, man. So I assume he's just wildly firing in Alyssa's direction.
Yes. Well, you engaged in melee. They were firing in melee rather successfully previously, so it's less wildly and more like they're attempting gun fu.
I'm gonna grab this guy that I think I did something like 46 damage to. I'm gonna grab him. Alyssa is gonna grab him, pull him close to her face, and she's gonna say, "Mayhaps you should throw down your weapon and surrender."
Okay, roll me a willpower, and I can see willpower and willpower, but also possibly willpower and might. How would you want to do?
Those are both the same for me,
All right, give it a roll.
because I forgot to activate the Neo-Human ability. Any bonuses or penalties?
I'll give you a +2 on this.
Really?
1 for each arm.
That's a 14.
All right, that is enough. At that point, they stop. Their focus changes for just a minute. You're not entirely sure how they're communicating, but they are communicating. And the next thing you know, you hear sounds of the Kaimon withdrawing. He pulls himself out of your grip. I assume you'll let him go?
No,
Oh, you don't?
I am telling him to surrender.
Well, the other Kaimon are withdrawing. You have them, but the others retreat. At which
Can
point,
I shoot one who's retreating in the legs so that they can't run?
I'll let you have this one parting shot.
Okay.
But as a whole, the Kaimon are withdrawing. I keep saying Kai, I meant to say K.
Unless a 7 does it.
7 does not.
You know what? No. I'm going to use a one of my
Fabulous.
traits.
What trait are you drawing on?
A grumpy drill instructor trait. Hours and hours and hours and hours of telling young women how to shoot accurately and make Good decisions in the heat of battle.
Sounds fair to me.
A 9 do it.
A 9 does not, unfortunately.
Okay. Battle-hardened soldier as the theme. I'm going to do that again.
Alrighty.
That's an 18.
That's
and max damage.
Well, that was the one you had previously chest crushed. So it is.
But I'm shooting for the leg on this one.
Okay.
It now needs a tighter leg.
Yep. Take a fabulous point, Bryn.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you shoot that leg out, and and they crash to the ground. Back at Alyssa, the Kaimon looks up to you.
Do what you will to me, but we will have revenge for the assault on our tree.
And that's where we'll leave it. Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for playing, and thank you all for watching. Any questions or comments before we go?
Next time, let's kill them all.
We'll see what happens. So, goodbye, viewers. Please come in next time for what happens with the Kaimon and the colony. And we hope you had a good time. And of course, if you like this content and wish to see it again, please do like and subscribe and share it around if you will. It helps the Queendom grow, or it helps the Queendom maintain itself. You get the idea, YouTube stuff. And once more, fare thee well, subjects.